Welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, and the network is AFR Talk. You are listening to ethanol-free radio right here on Focal Point and AFR Talk. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Looking at a story here before we go to the phones by Todd Starnes on townhall.com. Professor makes students stomp on Jesus. Maybe you heard about this story. A Florida Atlantic University student said he was suspended from class after he refused a professor's directive to stomp on a piece of paper with the word Jesus written on it. Now, the student that's involved here is Ryan Rotella. His instructor in an intercultural communications class told the students, apparently everyone in the class had this assignment, to write the name of Jesus on a sheet of paper. Then after they had written the name of Jesus on a sheet of paper, they were told to put the paper on the floor. And then the instructor said, I want you all to stand up and I want you to stomp on that piece of paper, which has the name Jesus written on it. Now, this student, Ryan Rotella, he refused, said, I'm not going to do it. He went to the instructor and he said, look, with all due respect, what you told us to do is not appropriate. It's unprofessional. I was deeply offended by what you told us to do. It's insulting and it's offensive. And the instructor was unmoved. So Rotella went to his instructor's supervisor, and the instructor, instead of protecting his liberty, his academic liberty, his religious freedom, suspended him from the class. Now, and it turns out this teacher, her name is Deandra Poole. She, or it's a he, Deandre looks like a female name, but this is apparently a male instructor. At any rate, the instructor has a PhD from Howard University and is writing a book entitled Obamania, The Rise of a Mythical Hero. So, no idea how the teacher would react if he introduced his book into class, Obamania, The Rise of a Mythical Hero, and students took his book and put it on the floor and stomped on it. We don't know how the teacher would react if his students did that. But he's writing this book on Barack Obama as a mythical hero, while at the very same time he wants his students to stomp on a symbol or a representation of the name of the true Messiah, Jesus Christ. The university is not talking. Well, let's see, university spokesman said they wouldn't comment, but they are defending the instructor's assignment to stomp on the name of Jesus, if you can believe it. This is Florida Atlantic University. As with any academic lesson, the exercise was meant to encourage students to view issues from many perspectives in direct relation with the course objectives. While at times the topics discussed may be sensitive, a university environment is a venue for such dialogue and debate. So you got to ask yourself the question, how stupid do they think we are? Here the university spokesman is saying, hey, this kind of stuff happens when you have an environment where you want to encourage dialogue and debate. Well, then how come you kicked this guy out of class? I thought you were all about dialogue. I thought you were all about debate. He goes to the instructor. He wants to dialogue with the instructor about this assignment. He wants to debate with the instructor about this assignment. What happens to him? He gets kicked out of class. So all that business about a university being a place where people have freedom of expression and we tolerate all points of view and we like to have vigorous debate, it's just hooey. It's just total hogwash. There is no diversity whatsoever, just this mind-numbing mono monoversity, as in mononucleosis, the kind of stuff that can make you sick. It's monodiversity. It is not diversity in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's go to the phones. 888-589-8840. Let's go to George, Jefferson County, Missouri. George, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. How you doing? Thank you for
Good.
what you're doing. I just wanted to say that, I think a lot of these decisions that are made in the judicial branch of our government, I think they think that the Christians think that these people play by the right rules, but gay and lesbians and all those people that want things, they play by another rule. It's that we're not paying them enough like the gay and lesbians are. And, I mean, you've seen how I told the one lady that interviewed me, she says, that the little kids, the abortion, Roe versus Wade, some guy that didn't want to be a man about it, had kids that he wanted to abort, it was all about something. Either it's about power or money,
Mm-hmm.
That's the only two things it's about, why these people do what they do. They're fueled.
Well, and George, you look at where the homosexual agenda is coming from, homosexual activists or secular fundamentalists. I mean, they are on this serious power trip. It is a combination of ego and power. I mean, they think they are the smartest people in the room, the sharpest pencil in the box. They believe they are so much smarter than you and I are. They are so much more intelligent. They are so much intellectually so far advanced. They're so evolved beyond where you and I are. We're just these antiquated Neanderthals with brains the size of pecans, and they are the exalted elite, the anointed ones. And our views are benighted. Our views don't deserve the time of day because they're out of date in their judgment. They're not sophisticated, hip, edgy, trendy like their views are. And therefore, they don't believe that that our views deserve any airtime whatsoever. We don't have to be debated. We don't have to be discussed. We can simply be dismissed because they reject our ideas. They don't have to refute our ideas. They just reject them out of hand. And they think that they are so much smarter than we are that they get to make all of these decisions for us. And they are so convinced of their own rectitude, so convinced that they're right, that they do not believe that we even should have a right to open our mouths, that we must be silenced. And if we have a view, for instance, we support natural marriage, to them that is so appalling that they're not interested in having a debate or a discussion about the meaning of marriage, the nature of marriage, the purpose of marriage. They're not interested in that. They think because they disagree with us that makes us cavemen, Cro-Magnons, Neanderthals, and they do not have to pay any attention to anything we say. And further, they have every right to shut us up, shut us down, stick a sock in our mouth, put a bag over our head, and then beyond that, tell us how to live our lives. They think they're the ones that are smart enough to tell us all of these decisions that we ought to make, whether it has to do with calorie count or how much sugar we can have in our soft drinks or how big our soft drinks can be or whether we can have salt on our food or cook our food with trans fats. So it's all about ego, George. It's all about power, and it's all about intimidating people of conservative values into silence.
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
I think if they only got an hour to make up for marriage and they got 2 hours for the other one, don't you think they already got their mind made up and they're already paid off?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of the classic deal is, my mind is made up. Don't confuse me with the facts.
Yeah, an hour? Wow.
Yeah.
I took my dog to the vet. I spent 3 hours, and she didn't have anything wrong but a little swelling in her legs. But I love that dog so much that, I'm married. I got kids. I love that dog so much. You couldn't imagine what it's like without that dog until they die, and then you feel, then you know, and you want that dog or whatever to stay alive that much longer because you cherish that.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend that works here at AFA, and they lost their family dog they had for 13 years. Man, it just broke everybody's heart in the entire household. And that's what C.S. Lewis said. Look, you let your heart get attached even to a pet. your heart is going to be broken, because that's what love does. Love, in the end, is going to wind up leaving you with a broken heart, because nothing lasts forever. But, it's a sign that God has designed those animals. He made them for our enjoyment, and it's altogether right that we should get attached to them. Well, listen, I appreciate that, George. And I George is talking about the fact that these Supreme Court, I think that's probably what alluding to, the Supreme Court justices are going to, maybe hear the case for natural marriage made in maybe an hour or 2 hours of oral arguments. And then they are going to make a decision that the rest of us in America may have to live with for decades. And it's going to be based on an hour or 2 hours of material, of oral presentation, of oral argument. And then one guy, Anthony Kennedy, is going to decide what marriage policy is for the entire 315 million people who live in the United States. Let's go to Josh in Brookshire, Texas. Josh, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
This is an issue that no one ever talks about, and I just wanted to see what your stance is. It has to do with hermaphrodites and marriage. Of course, hermaphrodites, they can be genetically and physically both male and female, or bits and pieces of other. So essentially, they're a little bit of both genders. So if they end up marrying someone, I wouldn't say it's exactly a gay marriage, but part of that is gay. Now, from what I understand, most hermaphrodites are sterile, and you were talking earlier on how marriage is, if I can remember the wording correctly, it was for sex, companionship, and for
children. Yeah, it's for companionship, sex, and children.
And they can't do either. They can't do 2 or 3 of those. So as far as your stance, because of that issue, hermaphrodites be allowed to marry anyone at all?
Well, that's kind of a trick question, Josh. I mean, nobody ever has asked me that question before, and I don't know anything. I don't have enough information about the biological makeup of people that have that condition to know. The question I would have is, genetically, what are they? What's the DNA? Is the DNA male or is the DNA female? That would go a long way towards settling that question. Back in 2.